I'm going to give you a quick overview of our home site for campaign finance. If for any reason you don't know where to get to find these sites, there's links in the email that was sent to you, and you can also find it online. If you go to sos.indy.gov, there is a big banner. Let me do this. There is a big banner at the top, campaign finance. If you click on that, it takes you right to either campaign finance and go to that system, or statement of interest and go to that system. And you'll see that banner in a couple of places throughout the site, just as a quick, easy reference. All right, let's get back into the right system here. So this is the campaign finance landing page that you'll come to. You can see there's some general information. You can go through these tiles to the areas that I'm going to show you, but these are also reflected at top for you. You can find also some site information down here if you scroll down for some general information, but that'll all be covered under the tabs we're going to go through, so I'll show those to you there. So we're going to start in the candidates and committees area. If you click on the committee overview, the general public is going to get a sense for who is filing in our system. So these handy little graphs are here. You can see we have 269 candidates or committees. We have 111 PACs and 97 district or parties committees in the system currently. You'll see tabs at the top for our top level navigation, and then certain tabs will have this secondary bar in which you can see additional information. Here, if you click on candidate or candidate committee or any of these others, you're going to get some general information as a public user to say, what do these people have to submit and what are they required to report? That information on what your requirements is out in this section under this committee overview tab. If we go to candidates or committees, which you can do through either way here, you're going to see a listing of all candidates who are currently in the system. So if you search, you can use filters at the top of every page. You'll see this filter system throughout most of the site and in the user areas where you go into file. There'll be a filter at the top of most sections and a table on the bottom with results. The filters can be used to quickly and easily filter down information. So if I search for Michael Howe, I can easily quickly find Michael Howe just by putting in a couple letters of his name. I can select by committee type through drop downs or years, and I can also use this advanced filters tab if I want to add extra things like I really just want to know somebody's party affiliation, so I can come out and select Republican Party. I'm going to get rid of Michael Howe, so see I can delete him there, or I can clear all over here in a second. I'll show you that. So if I want to just find people who've associated with the party, I can do that. You'll notice the buttons on the right here for clear all. I can clear that data information really quickly, or I can export it if I wanted in an Excel spreadsheet to do something with later. So over here, you'll notice that I have that Republican Party selected. I can exit out here, or I can simply hit clear all to clear all those filters and start a new search. The other area that's in this section is violations. So if there is a late filing, if you have a late filing, missed the deadline, you will be assessed a fee based on North Dakota Century Code. That fee will end up out here. The public will see that you have a violation, and you as a filer on the back end have the ability to pay and quickly close out that if you would happen to have a late filing. That payment will be taken in the site, and then it will appear out here as a closed violation. Now I'm going to take you to the contributions and expenditures tab. Similar over here, there is a pie chart with an overview, gives a sense for those committees who have to report itemized information is reflected out in these groups by contribution and expenditures. If we go under the contributions tab, you'll see that same filter at the top. When looking at contributions, it's important that you select a year. Right now, the system will default to 2026 because it is 2026. But if you select 2025, you'll be able to easily and quickly search based on certain criteria. So I'm going to use 2025 candidate committee, and I'm going to search, and it will show you the contributions received by different candidates throughout the system. Just as a note, you'll notice links within the system. So you can see this is a link with the red underline, over here the same. If I click on any of these, if I click on Representative Steeman, it'll take me directly to his profile page. And I can see here information about who his agent is. I can look out his individual contributions or expenditures, or if he's had any filings. So it'll show me everything that's linked directly to him. or I can use the table that I showed you earlier and just click on his year-end report. So this is the Bankers Association year-end report. If I click, it's going to bring up a nice summary page. You see here we have information about the committee and who they are. And you also have information about their expenditures, contributions, receipts, and any starting or ending balance. As candidates, let me go out and get a candidate. Sorry about that. I should grab one of those. Candidate. For candidates, you'll see that summary reporting. That is a year-end report requirement. So here you can see for Dawson Hawley, final year-end information. And then that information parses out into different segments. So you'll see lump sum, itemized. Here you can see those as listed. And you'll see each of those segments of the report listed within that particular report. All right. And then last but not least, same thing applies to expenditures, links, filtering, all of that. If you have independent expenditures you're looking for, those will be under this section. And then there's also at the top this access report. If you click filed reports, you'll see all reports that are filed in the system. And you'll notice that some of these are noted as amended. And Erica will show you this later too, but if you click the little caret in front of those, you can look at an original and an amendment and see those changes. So I'm going to just show you really quickly, since on the UAT or our testing set, you don't get to see what's changed. Let's see if there is any in here. This might have been an error one. There will be some redlining or information in there that will change, and it will be noted on an amended return. So with that, I'm going to just quickly give you a note here. There's a data download section if you want big chunks of data, like all contributions for a certain year or all expenditures for a certain year. And you can also use this link, archive reports, to go back to our old system. So we haven't converted any data. We do have plans to do some data conversion in the future, but that is not yet in the site. So any past years will need to be searched in the old site through that quick link. And then under the news and resources area, you can see here we have news. That will appear on the home or on the home screen for the site, but also you can click on that and see if there's any information we're trying to share with filers. You have a notification system on the in your logged in side as well. And then you also have the access to the help library in both areas, on the public side and on the back. There are really useful guides out in the help library. So you have the Filer Quick Start Guide, which just talks about getting you in and getting you set up, and then specific guides for candidates, candidate committees, and district parties on how to file with screenshots of every step. Eric is going to walk you through, but if you need a reminder later, this is a really good resource for you. With that, I'm going to kick to Erica. I'm going to give you back to her, and she's going to walk us through signing in and entering in the system.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandy. Yeah, so let's get into it. All the fun details. So when you land on our campaign finance page, Sandy just walked you through the fun public side. I want to make sure I'm in our, yep, okay. I don't want to be entering information in our production side, so I just made sure I was on the right URL. So Sandy just walked you through the public facing part after filers file their campaign finance information. I'll walk you through that backside on how you file that. So under the sign in, sign up, all filers are going to use the public login link. The SOS login is for Secretary of State staff, administrative things. So if you try to log in there, you are not going to be successful. You will want to use the public login. So on the public login, you are redirected to your North Dakota login page. This is the same North Dakota login that you've used for previous campaign finance filings. If you have an account with Game and Fish for a hunting or fishing license, I know I have one for my boat license. Any other North Dakota login that you have, that information is the same user ID, password that you can use for campaign finance. If you have a current campaign finance login, but you don't remember what your username is, you can call our office. We can absolutely help you with that username info to make sure you're getting logged into the right account that's linked to your campaign finance things. We can't help you with your password. That's managed through NDIT. So if you know your user ID but don't know your password, you would use this forgot password process. Walk through that, and NDIT through an automated process would reset that password for you. If you're new to campaign finance or statement of interest, you can also create an account, and this would allow you to create a username and password. Very straightforward. Okay, so I'm going to log in. And when you first log into the system, here we go, you are going to land on your My Committees page. So this would have any committees that you are currently linked to. So if you had an existing campaign finance profile in our archived campaign finance or our legacy campaign finance system, that should be appearing here. If you log in and you don't see that information, please call us so we can make sure, help troubleshoot, get that linked appropriately. We want to make sure that you can see that and you're not registering multiple campaign finance accounts. So if you see, I'm going to pick on Representative Heiner. He would log in and he should see Pat Heiner here. And you can see that you can click in these, okay? If it's not here, give us a call. But if you've never done or filed campaign finance report, you shouldn't see anything here, okay? To register a new campaign finance account, you are going to go to dashboard. So you can see on the navigation menu over here, you have My Committees and then you have dashboard. Dashboard is where you are going to create new registrations, or you can also request access to other committees here. So to create a new registration in the dropdown, you are simply going to select candidate or candidate committee and add a new registration. Then you walk through the registration process, right? So candidate or candidate committee, the only difference between a candidate and a candidate committee is an agent. The candidate committee has an agent, the candidate doesn't. So it really is up to you as the candidate to select which account you're looking to register for, okay? Very straightforward. You are just going to select, what you're running for. And the registration year for new registrations is going to be 2025. And then you're going to walk through that process. It's going to ask you address information, email, contact information, all of that. I believe it's 3 screens. So you just walk through, hit next, 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 and submit. Our office does have to approve any new registrations. And the only thing we're really looking for with those new registrations is to make sure there's not a duplicate registration out there. So takes us a little bit of time to review and approve those. If you're really chomping at the bit to get your campaign finance report filed, reach out to us. We can get that approved expeditiously. Okay. After you're approved, or if you have an existing account, again, under My Committees, you are going to select which account you want to file for. You probably noticed a theme. We have a Revolutionary War theme between our candidates and our candidate committees. Yesterday, I was George Washington. Today, I'm going to be John Adams. Okay, so you can see here, John Adams, select John Adams, and you land within that account. If you are wondering who you're operating as or who you're filing on behalf of, you can look up here in the upper right-hand corner, and you will see that me as the user, Erica White, I'm logged in under John Adams, okay? We have a navigation menu along the side, and we land immediately in our report dashboard. This is going to give us any immediate reports that are due, along with any upcoming reports. Because we are filing that year-end report, we're not going to have any upcoming reports until we register for 2026. And if you're on the ballot, you should then see your pre-primary, pre-general year-end report populate here for the 2026 election. If you're not on the ballot in 2026, you would just see an upcoming reports, that year-end report, which is due at the beginning of 2027. Okay. So report dashboard here, you can see preview and file report. Please don't click these until you've entered transactions. That's where we're seeing a lot of those amendments. People come in, hit file report, thinking that allows them to enter the transaction, but that just files your report without any transactions being entered. We need to enter those transactions first. So I'm going to come over here to the navigation menu again along the side. Transaction dashboard. This just gives you a snapshot of all of the contributions and expenditures you've received, along with any contributors and recipients you have entered in the system. You can add and enter contributions straight from this screen, or enter contributors and recipients straight from this screen, or you can do that along the side here as well. So on the navigation menu, I'm going to skip down to contributors and recipients. So how we are using this contributors and recipients, or trying to explain this contributors and recipients, is this is sort of like your address book. So any individual who gives you contributions is going to be entered into this area. If you receive a contribution from a party, a district party, a committee, excuse me, or receive a contribution from a candidate committee, you don't have to enter that information because that's going to show up in your options when you are entering transactions. You really only need to enter individuals in here if you receive contributions from people who aren't registered in our system or from candidates' personal funds. So the way we're discerning a candidate contribution from an individual contribution is if you receive a check from, a candidate's campaign account, you would not need to enter them in here. They would be included in the candidate drop-down list. But if they as an individual gave you money from their personal account, you would want to enter them as an individual here. So that's kind of that dividing line, is whether it came from their campaign account or their individual personal account. Okay, so I will show you how to add a contributor here. Oh, yep, sorry, I did that right. So under funding source, I'm going to select an individual. So my contributor, I'm just going to enter myself here. So let's say I gave John Adams money, right? So he came in here and he's entering the information in here. If you use or are going to use in the future the import or upload process, that's where you would worry about this external reference ID. We don't have that available yet. It will be available for the pre-primary report. And we will provide more guidance and more information on this external reference ID when that functionality is available. So right now, if you're entering individuals here, don't worry about the external reference ID. Unless you plan on using that in the future. But again, we're going to provide more guidance on that. So I'm just going to ignore the external reference ID for now. I'm going to move down to the address line. Okay, employment details. The only time you need to report employment details on campaign finance reports is if that individual gives you $5,000 or more. Okay, so if you don't believe you are going to get $5,000 from an individual, you don't need to complete this information. Well, let's say someone gives you a $10,000 check, right? You would need to complete the employment information for them. If you don't know if you're gonna hit that $5,000 mark with an individual, you can always add the information later. And when you hit that threshold, the system will warn you, hey, you need to report employment information for this person. So you will be warned if you do hit that aggregated total for anybody who's contributing to you. I don't think I'm gonna get $5,000 from myself, so I'm just gonna ignore this and hit save. You can see now that I've shown up in the address book as an individual under John Adams' account. Okay, so here I am here. You don't have to use this contributors and recipients area. You can enter that straight from the transaction dashboard too. I like to think of it as a choose your own adventure, like the Goosebumps books when I was growing up. So I'm going to go to enter transactions. You can see here in the transaction overview tab along the top, there's no information in here yet because I haven't entered anything. But once I start entering contributions and once I start entering expenditures, there's going to be beautiful little pie charts that are populated here. So under contributions, when I hit the contributions under the transaction year, it's automatically defaulting to 2026. Okay. So if you start entering contributions for 2025, they're not going to populate here because you have your filter turned on. This is just a search filter. I like to turn it off during these trainings just so you can kind of see as we enter contributions how that information is being populated. All right. I'm going to come up here to the right-hand screen and click Add New Contribution. Contribution type. So in the dropdown, you will see in-kind contributions, monetary. So monetary is for any itemized transactions, reimbursement of expenditures. This is when you as a candidate, if you're running as a slate of candidates, you would use the reimbursement of expenditure to reimburse another candidate for any, signage, advertising, anything like that that they personally use. Or that they've expended on behalf of the slate of candidates. So in our old system, this would look like a contribution and an expenditure from candidate to candidate, when it truly wasn't a contribution and expenditure. It was just, let's say in District 32, again, going to pick on Rep. Heinert, District 32, if his running mates spent $5,000 on signs, he would be able to use this reimbursement of expenditure and say, or if he spent $5,000 on signs, excuse me, he would be able to use this reimbursement of expenditure and add that for those, the repayment of those signs from his two running mates. Okay. So if his running mate owed him $1,000, he could say reimbursement of expenditure, enter that $1,000. So it doesn't look like a contribution from his running mate. It's just, oh, we all together spent this money and they're just paying me back from their campaign account for this. Okay, so that's that reimbursement of expenditure. It's new. Statute allows for it. We've just never accounted for it in our other system. So this is just provides a little bit more clarity on that. Okay. The total $200 or less, this is your lump sum entry. Okay, so instead of lump sum, it's just your total entry, $200 or less. I'm going to do an itemized transaction so you can see what that looks like with the entering of individuals straight from this contribution page. So I'm going to go monetary, and let's say I got not $500. I'm going to go date of contribution was last year since we're filing our year end. Contributor type. You can see here, this is where you can select from candidates, committees, PACs, your individual list, a party committee, or yourself. If you are giving your campaign an initial $2,000, you can say, I am funding $2,000 from myself. And then at the end of the year, if you need to pay yourself your individual account back, you can do that through this process as well. So just an example, if I go candidate, in the contributor search, I can search, I'm going to pick my senator, Sean Cleary. Okay, so if he gave me $500 from his candidate account, I would be able to search him and select that here. If I received money from a party, I can search District 35. Maybe. There we go. So if you go District 35, here are the two options for the District 35 parties in North Dakota. Okay, so really great way to just kind of search. Committees, PACs is the same way. If the Bismarck area, it might not be in our test site because, yeah, it's not going to be in our test site. Let's go, we used credit union. So the Credit Union Political Action Committee. So you can easily search and pull those individuals from our existing list of registrants without having to add them. But let's say I got this money from Sandy. You can see if I go individual and contributor search, Sandy doesn't show up in here because I haven't added her into my address book, into that contributors and recipients list yet. So I'm going to add a new contributor straight from this screen. I'm going to say Sandy. Enter her information here. Then you can see I have the option to enter those employment details. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to create contributor. Now you can see she shows up here. If I X out of here, you can see now she's in my drop-down list. So if she would give to me in the future, she's included in my drop-down list. This information, the contributors and recipients list, is private to your specific account. This is not shared with anybody else. The only shared lists are those committees, PACs, parties that are registered within our system. So that's the shared list. But any individual that you're entering in the contributor or recipient area is specific to your individual account. Okay. I'm going to save that transaction. So you can see now in my transaction screen that Sandy has given me $500. Okay. Let's come back in and say, let's say Sandy gave me another $100 after she gave me $500. Okay, I'm going to enter this $100 here. Again, come back. She gave that to me on December 27th. Individual. Now you can see here the year-to-date aggregate. So it's including that previous transaction that she gave me. And I can enter that additional 100 because I've went over that $200 threshold. So you can see here that her previous 500 is here. I'm going to save that transaction. And now you can see that $500 transaction and that $100 transaction. When this is reported on that final report, it'll look like two separate transactions, but we will get that aggregated total once that report is filed of $600. And we'll show you what that looks like once we file. I saw Sandy unmuted.
Yeah, and just as a note on the public side, the public will see that as two separate transactions as well, but there's always a column that says the year-to-date total for that particular contributor, so they can see that you're over that threshold and it's not meeting requirements, sort of thing.
Yeah. So let's add the lump sum contribution. So I received, I don't know, $5,000 in a bunch of different donations under $200. I'm going to add that in here, save transaction. Okay. Since this is the year-end report, we also have expenditures to report on the year-end. So let's say this is all I received in contributions for 2025. I'm going to pop over to expenditures. I'm going to get rid of my filter. No data because I haven't entered an expenditure. Again, just like contributions, we are going to go add new expenditure. And you can see here, since candidates report in lump sums under purpose, we're going to select which purpose this was for. So let's say I spent $500 on advertising. And because we only report expenditures on the year end, it's simply going to ask for the year of the expenditure. This was in 2025. Save transaction. There it is. And let's say I gave $1,000 to different candidates, right? So I'm going to say miscellaneous expenditure of $1,000 in 2025. And this is all I've done for expenditures. I can either save the transaction or I can save and file since I'm done entering everything. Okay. So again, save or save and file. If I hit save and file, it's going to take me directly to the screen to file my report, or I can just save. I need to show you how to edit a transaction. So I'm just going to save this one. So I'm going to save, and you can see here are my two transactions, advertising and miscellaneous. Let's say I realized that Sandy's $100 check that she gave me was actually $150. So I'm going to go back over to contributions. You can see nothing showing up here again because we have that filter turned on. So this $100 check was actually a $150 check. To edit any transaction that you haven't filed on a report yet, you can edit those until you file that report. After you file, you have to amend the transaction. I'm going to come over here to the three little ellipses. I'm going to click those and I'm going to edit. I'm going to say, Sandy actually gave me not $1,500, $150.
Yeah, I don't have that much money to give you. I just want to give 150.
Oh, now it doesn't. The test site gets a little finicky. This will work in the production site because it's not over $200. It's not working right now. So let's change this to $250 just so we can get it to save. All right. Testing and production are two different things. Production, it will work great. So here is that updated transaction of $250. Likewise, if you need to delete anything before you file, you can delete that transaction too and re-enter. So either edit or delete and re-enter.
And Erica, can I just call attention? So right beside that ellipses that Erica showed you, you can't see the whole title, but there's a little column there that says amendment. So if you would have filed a report and amended a transaction that has a report attached to it that you've already filed, that would check itself. That's a signal to you that you have an amendment. You'll need to go over to your reports area and file.
And we'll walk through that process too after we get done filing. So that's contributions and entering contributions and expenditures. Now, when I hit the transaction overview, you can see all those fancy pie charts I was talking about earlier. So here are my fancy pie charts. Okay. To file this report, I can either do that from the report dashboard. I can preview and file here, or I can go to my report screen and I can preview and file here. On the report screen, you can also see how many unfiled transactions I have. So either way, again, choose your own adventure. I'm going to preview my report before I file. So I'm just going to select preview report. And you can see because John Adams is a statewide candidate, the starting and ending fund balance is here. Legislative candidates, judicial candidates, so district judicial candidates and multi-candidate committees and district committees do not need to report the beginning and ending fund balance, so there will be no information populated here. If you are a statewide candidate, any ending fund balance that you had on your year-end filing that you filed last January will pull through on as your starting balance here. If that doesn't look quite right, please reach out so we can get that corrected. We went through and checked everything, but want to make sure that's accurate for you. So if your starting balance isn't quite right, please let us know. So you can see here now that contributions, my total expenditures, here's my miscellaneous and my advertising expenditure that I entered in my categories. And as we scroll down, it's just a nice PDF report of everything. Here's a great view of that aggregated total. So each individual transaction, and then that aggregated number that Sandy gave me, $750. Okay. And then my expenditures are here too. So this is just a preview of the report. We haven't filed yet. I'm going to go back to my report screen and I'm going to file my report. I'm going to enter my starting and ending fund balance here. And again, you have the ability to preview. We already did that. I'm going to submit my report.
Just as a note, as a candidate, or if they are not a statewide individual, they will not have that ending and starting balance.
Yes, thank you. So if you are not a statewide candidate, you won't even see this information. The only thing that you will see is this oath or affirmation piece. None of this is generated or populated in your account, just the oath or affirmation. But after you submit your report, it's going to ask if you'd like to re-register. If you are a current office holder, by law, you do have to re-register, or if you aren't an office holder, but you have a balance in your campaign fund, you also have to register. So I'm going to re-register for 2026. I'm going to say yes, and it's going to bring me straight to that registration screen. Excuse me. So none of this information has changed, still a Supreme Court justice. One thing we noticed is the system is allowing you to register without selecting a year, which actually doesn't register you for 2026. So please note when you re-register to select 2026, we are working on getting that bug fixed. So it is required. We just don't know when it'll be fixed. So just take a mental note that you're picking 2026 as your registration year when you re-register, so the appropriate reports are put on your account. Okay. So registration year next. Everything here looks correct to me. If I wanted to update my phone number, I could do that here, right? Okay. Next. And then just a review screen. So I review, everything looks great. I'm going to acknowledge and accept and hit update. And it gives me another warning. Are you sure you want to do this? And I say yes and okay. That brings me straight to the summary screen for my registration. So you can see all of that information here. If I made any mistakes and needed to update this, it would say correct registration. Is that right, Sandy? Excuse me, I need a little bit of water.
Yep,
been talking
correct.
Too much today. Yes, it would say correct registration here. Committee document. This is just an acceptance letter that you get when you register within our system. Event log, you can see who has accessed and who has filed reports on your behalf. And then any violations. So if you have a fee due to a late filing, that would appear here. It would also appear on your report dashboard screen and allow you to make a payment via credit card directly from the system. So again, notice of the violation is here under the administration violation tab or under your report dashboard here. Okay. If you are a candidate committee and you update and you have an agent, a treasurer, whatever the case may be, if you update your agent or treasurer, that does not provide the new person, it does not give the new person access to your account. It just updates the information of your agent or treasurer. We'll go through giving other people access to your account after we amend a transaction. Okay. So let's say a week goes by, whatever the case goes by, and I realize, oh my gosh, I forgot to enter a contribution, or I need to edit my total lump sum because I did some math wrong. You can log back into the system and go straight to enter transactions. And let's say I didn't total up my total lump sum contribution correctly. This should actually be $4,500, not $5,000. Okay. You can see now that after I filed it, you have a filed date and the report name in which that was filed under. Okay. And I need to edit this lump sum. So I'm going to come to my three little dots, my ellipses, and I'm going to amend. And I'm going to change this transaction amount to 4,500 and save transaction. You can see that little amendment checkbox is now checked that we talked about earlier, that you edited this transaction. Okay. If you now go to your report dashboard, it's going to tell you you have a report amendment due. Okay. And if you go to your report dashboard, it's also going to tell you you have an amendment due. So there's one transaction that needs filing. If I preview that report, you can see it's not working in here, but in the production side, it'll be blue and this will be crossed out. My $5,000 transaction would be crossed out and this $4,500 transaction would be updated and be blue. Okay. So that's the edit that would be made. This is your little key down here as to what changes were made on the report. Okay. I am going to amend and I'm going to update my starting and ending fund balance because I'm a statewide candidate. And submit report. I'm not going to re-register because I've already registered in the system. And you can see here's that amended report. The caret on the side allows me to see that original report and then that amendment. Okay, so those are the two reports there, and that's under reports and filed. Unfiled reports, this would be my 2026 year-end report. Again, if you're on the ballot, you'll see your pre-primary, pre-general, and then the year end. If you're not on the ballot, you're just going to see a year end. Okay. We went through administration. I'm going to show you the committee users section. This is how you grant access to somebody else. So if somebody else needs access to your account, if they're your treasurer, or if your spouse is helping you file, your kid is helping you file, whatever the case might be, they can request access to your account so you're not using the same logins. They need to register within the system, so they just need to create that North Dakota login, or if they already have one, they can use their existing North Dakota login. But they would come in and maybe they wouldn't see anything here. There would be no committees here, right? They could go up to the dashboard and request to access existing committee. This is where they would request access. I'm going to pick on Rep. Heinert again, and I'm going to say I want access to Representative Heinert's account. I am going to say here he is. I'm going to select this and say the candidate committee, don't get too hung up on this. This is just a bucket. So everybody is a candidate committee in the system. Okay. So I'm going to say candidate committee and add access. You can see here now that I've requested access to Representative Heinert's account. If I mess up and I request access to the wrong person, I can withdraw this. So let's say I messed up and I said, nope, I don't want access to Senator Mather, and I only want access to Representative Heinert. Here's that pending request out here. Okay. You don't get access to anyone's account until that individual comes in and approves that. So you don't have access until Representative Heinert would need to come in. He would need to find his committee, and he could go to committee users, and he would see out here the pending requests. Okay. So right now under John Adams, I have two of me assigned to this account. I've also removed one of me, and this is Sandy. So Sandy is requesting access, and I can either approve or reject that request. So if I approve, she now has access to. And I can remove, if I'm like, oh my gosh, how many logins do I have? 1,000,000. I can remove those requests through here. Okay. So you can see who has access and who doesn't have access to your account. You might be looking at this invite users. This is not available in the production side. And it's just a security thing with the North Dakota login and how that interacts with this system. Users have to register with North Dakota login before they're able to be added. So the invite users isn't an option in the production side. So the user who needs access would have to take the initiative to get logged in, request the access, and then the committee can come in and approve or remove access. Then when that user would log in, that account would be showing up here. Okay. Just one quick thing. Your notifications in the production side, you'll have some notifications, and then you'll also have documents loaded in the help library if you need any help. To get out of your committee, if you hit the back button, it's going to kick you out of the entire system. You have to hit exit committee to land back on this page. And then to sign out, you simply click your name and hit sign out.